bring it to the flow.
Talent grace, I'm never gonna be done. Lean on in. Now welcome to the kingdom.
Welcome. You are watching Women's Wrestling Talk. I said it, Women's Wrestling Talk. No longer Women's Wrestling Weekly. We have changed, but we haven't changed, but we've changed. We are here. My name is TK Trinidad, aka the Canadian Assassin. You guys who have watched the show Women's Wrestling Weekly, you know what it is, but if not, you know, we talk to women's wrestlers, we talk to female wrestlers, and we talk about women's wrestling, all that great stuff. But I am not alone in the box. Currently, I have, so for my folks who, I'm talking to two separate people right now. I'm gonna talk to people who've been our day ones, who've been there from the beginning. This woman is an amazing person. She's a writer, she's a wrestler, she's all around badass. I think she's also a witch and she's a cat mom, and you know, we'll talk all about that stuff. But her name is Sarah the Rebel.
What up, though?
I forgot to say former co-host of Women's Wrestling Weekly too, so that's how it all kind of
Ew,
came
I'm
out.
one of the OGs.
So for you guys who don't know, she's a former co-host of Women's Wrestling Weekly, and she's now one of the co-hosts of Women's Wrestling Talk. Which
I'm back, baby.
What do you say?
I said I'm back, baby.
There you go, back bitches. So, which leads me to my next co-host. She came in after. Like, if you've been watching Women's Wrestling Weekly, we had a lot of hosts, and these two women are my favorites. No offense, Evan T. Mack, but you weren't a woman. These two women are my favorite from Women's Wrestling Weekly. So when, you know, things happened, I was like, we need to bring back the show, and these two are the perfect individuals to do so. So this young lady, she is like, I don't even know, like, I don't want to lead with this, but how I met her is how I know her. She is the wife of a professional wrestler, but she also does wrestling things, and she's also like an announcer and a host, and she's very versed on wrestling in general. And I found out on good authority that she is a farmer's daughter from the Valley, somewhere in California. Please welcome Emily Kay.
Hi, TK. Hi, Sarah. Sorry, I had to hold my cat there for a little bit.
Yes.
Because, you know, I'm a farmer's daughter. I have to keep it, you know, I got to keep all my animals close.
Animals close, enemies closer.
But yeah. I'm so excited, TK, that we decided to still continue to do this because, you know, I kind of like was thrown into it, you know. I bothered you pretty much, you know, very awkwardly. I bothered you.
That was your husband. That was your husband.
Yes, my husband bothered you awkwardly, and then I followed up with more awkwardness and was like, hey, I want to be a part of this. And, you know, I know there was like transitions happening and, you know, a lot of changes. And so I'm so like blessed. And by the way, like it's been now over a year since we've been doing this.
I know, it's crazy, right?
So it's crazy, and I'm just super excited that I get to talk about something that I'm super passionate about and that we all are. And yeah, I'm excited we're doing this. Yeah,
so like for you guys who are new to this show, so we interview wrestlers. Definitely go and check out our old interviews. We have interviews with people from WWE, we have people from AEW, we have people from Impact, we have people from ROH. We have indie wrestlers. We have wrestlers who we predicted stuff was going to happen and they got signed. Our show is absolutely amazing, and you know, it was amazing, and it's going to be amazinger. That's not a word, but I just made it a word. So I'm definitely really, really excited about this new version of it. And, you know, like I said, as far as co-hosts go, these two women, like, they just bring so much to the table that if you are just starting to watch, you definitely want to hold on, because it's going to be funny. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be educational. And it's going to be one of those things that you can talk about, you know, by the water cooler, because we are going to have the big interviews. And we're going to have the interviews where we're introducing you to new people. And we're going to have the interviews where we're just, you know, they've been on the show before and they're going to tell you tidbits of information that you never know, that you wouldn't find anywhere else, because we are women talking to women, which, you know, we ask the questions because we know the questions. So it's one of those things that I'm really, really excited about. I think I said really, really like a billion times, but that I think is just my word today. So kind of let's get into it a little bit. Sarah the Rebel, like I introduced you, you are a wrestler. You are, and again too, we did interview Sarah before she actually became a co-host. So if you want to see that interview and get like the full scope of who she is, then go back to that interview, which is on Women's Wrestling Weekly. But currently on Women's Wrestling Talk, Sarah is a co-host, but she's also a wrestler. So kind of give us a little breakdown of that.
Sure. So I wrestle as Sarah the Rebel, and I'm everywhere as Sarah the Rebel because I have good branding. You might have seen me on OVW, which is Al Snow's wrestling promotion. I wrestle for WOW Women of Wrestling as Razor. I wrestle for this promotion called Glam, which is part of Hood Slam in Oakland, as Tiamat, the Mother of Monsters. I wrestle for a company called Empower, and I'm sure I'll be wrestling for a few more places, even though COVID kind of, I was going to England, y'all. I was booked in England, all over the place, places I've never been. But it's okay because everything happens for a reason. And I've been using this time in quarantine to work out harder than ever before, and I'm like the most fit version of myself that's ever existed. So
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Pretty excited about what's coming up next, and finally starting to dip a gentle toe into wrestling again where it's safe.
And you're also a writer. Don't forget that part.
Oh yes, so I'm an author of several books, including Art of Half-Brick, Marvel's Agent Carter Season 1 Declassified, a story in Myriad Lands Volume 1 called Pride of Katush, if you're into fantasy. And then I have an upcoming book that I can't say yet because the pandemic kind of stopped it from being published yet, but it's coming, and you guys are going to love it if you love the 90s. And I'm writing a book right now, so yeah, writing is my life.
There you go. That is
That's
Sarah.
amazing. Sarah, you're awesome.
Oh.
I'm like, I watched all of your, so when I joined Women's Wrestling Weekly, I watched all the interviews ahead of me, and then I got to yours, and TK was like, oh yeah, she used to be a host, and I like watched all your stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this woman's amazing and badass, and I was like, I want so kudos to like everything you're doing.
More, so I was very happy TK finally found somebody worthy of the show in you, Emily.
Look.
I'm not worthy.
What happened was, without giving all the zhush out.
Like, are we giving some stuff?
We're giving some stuff. What happened was there were certain things that were out of my control, which that's why I'm really glad that, like you were saying, Sarah or Emily, I don't know, one of you guys said it. Everything happens for a reason, and this show is fully controlled by us now. So I'm really happy about that. So that will mean, a lot of amazing things coming down the pipe, which, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to jinx it, but there's some stuff coming down the pipe. So Sarah being on the show and leaving the show had nothing to do with my decision. I was very devastated and upset, and I fought tooth and nail. And if you saw the in between before Emily came, it was just kind of like, we're just trying to hold this together with tape, pretty much. And then Emily came, and with Emily, I don't know, what is Hobo's social media now? Because I call him Hobo still. But I know
so right now he's Robert Baines.
Okay.
So he's not Hobo anymore.
Right.
He's Robert
So
Baines.
I was on a show with Hobo, aka Robert Baines, and then he sent me a text at 12 o'clock at midnight saying, hey, I have somebody. He didn't bother telling me it was his wife, though, because it would have been just way easier process. I'm like, well, who is this person? I just have somebody who's interested. I'm like, okay. And then he wouldn't give me any more information. And literally that day I came in to film the show, and somebody comes into the studio and says, somebody's here to see you. I'm like, what do you mean somebody's here to see me? I have no idea what's going on. So I get slightly irritated when stuff is not according to plan, or like people just show up. Like it doesn't work well for me. So I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh, I'm like, all right. And then I think either that conversation or a little bit later, she told me that she's Hobo's wife. I was like, this would have been so much less awkward and easier if he just led with that.
I know, because we watched NXT that night. Remember?
Right.
We watched NXT, and I stayed with Flobo and Jack, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we were all hanging out, and we were all chatting about wrestling and talking about NXT. And then you're like, I was like, oh my God, I felt like the heat, man. You were looking at me like you wanted to.
I'm like, who is this chick? I don't understand what's going on right now.
Like, who is this chick? And then finally, George Hermosa, remember, he came by and was like, oh, it's Hobo's wife. And you're like, what? Oh, and then it all made sense. But you have no idea how mad I was. Like, I don't get very mad. I'm a pretty cool person. I don't get like angry. And I was messaging him, and I like went home, and He heard it from me.
Yeah, I'm not the go with the flow type person, especially when it comes to shows. So it was that could have been tied up in 2 minutes. So I'm glad that you took care of
I'm
them.
appreciative that you didn't throw me out. And you were gracious.
That's the Canadian in me. I wasn't gonna do that for sure.
Yeah.
But shout out to Hobo for seeing the vision before all of us saw the vision. And now, like I said,
I mean, wait, first of all, I'm not even giving him credit. It's not him. I showed up.
But we're here.
Half the battle is showing up.
So, like I said, these two women were amazing as co-hosts, and for the new version of Women's Wrestling Talk, there was nobody else that I thought of except for these two women. And then we also have, I don't know if you can hop on air, like, do a little button, Josh, or not, but, I definitely am not a producer by any means of the sort. So we have Josh, who also, I think, did the first couple shows of Women's Wrestling Weekly. He is our producer for this show. So I don't know if you can.
Yay, Josh.
Hey, thank you very much. I also mixed the music, the intro.
Yes, he also did the music as well. So, it's kind of like an Issa Rae type moment where I just bring the people that I know that can, do it. And, here we are. So as far as the show goes and what to expect, still going to bring great interviews, still going to have amazing people on. Between the three of us, just being in the industry, it's gonna be popping as far as interviews. So trust me on that. There's gonna be a lot of breaking news, so trust me on that. And then we're gonna have news segments. Now with the news segments, it's not gonna be your standard, here's the news and we talk about, it's gonna be more interactive because that's where we are. So we're gonna jump from this box that we're in to the IG Live box, which is gonna be Thursdays, every Thursday at 4 o'clock, where 1, 2, or 3 of us might pop up and talk about women's wrestling. So any excitement about that, ladies, or what's going on in the minds?
I'm really looking forward to getting to have that quick reaction, because we never quite could have that as well when we were doing the show before. We would get comments in and eventually we had time to kind of address them, but we couldn't really interrupt, the interviews or the flows or the news that we were sharing to read the comments. And now it's not even going to be about interruption. It's literally going to be more like a conversation with our fans. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to just talking to our fans again, because I feel like we've been so disconnected with all the quarantine things and all of that and kind of shifting in industry. We haven't been able to talk to our fans as much. And so, and I would love to have wrestlers jump on to our Instagram live feeds and really jump on and ask questions and, just talk about what's happening, because there's so much wrestling happening, even with kind of us dealing with the pandemic. There's still always news. There's still always something breaking. And so I love the idea of just getting on, having a casual and, and just getting to know, I know TK a lot, and Sarah, I know you know TK, but I'm excited to get to know Sarah a little bit. And,
She's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of bonded already with all the cat lady thing. But I'm just excited to have a all female panel and to really like dive into women's wrestling, because it's just super fun. And you know, I've been missing it so much. So I'm happy.
Yeah. So that's going to be every Thursdays at 4 p.m. starting this Thursday. So you're watching the show. I mean, yeah, I hope that you're going to watch the show live when it drops on Tuesday. But if not, if you're watching on Wednesday, or if you're watching it Thursday morning, then you want to hop on Thursday at 4 p.m. It's going to be live. And this week is going to be Sarah and Emily live talking all little news. It's not going to be news and gossip. That's what I want to say, but that's not what it is. It's women's wrestling news. That's what we're going to be talking about Thursday. Probably a little hint of gossip.
Give me everything.
You might talk about Chris Evans. I don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, technically, it might turn into just us showing our cats to the fans, because they're, you know, part of our lives, and it cheers people up.
And TK can't tell us no. So
and TK can't say no because it's live.
Look, I don't have any problem with y'all and your cats. The thing is that it's just kind of like it becomes part of the show, and it's just kind of like I feel like I'm the odd man out, like, because I don't have no cats. My dog passed away 5 years ago, so it's just kind of like I don't know if I should get a cat to be part of the group, which I'm probably not, because they just seem like a lot of work. But you know,
stuffed cat, you know, like a stuffed animal that's a cat, and when we start talking about it, you bring out Fluffy.
Right. Okay, well, I'll let anybody who's listening to us, if you want to send me a stuffed cat, hit me up on the DMs at TK Trinidad, and I'll send you somewhere. Probably send it to Sarah's house, and
Why
I'll
does you send pussy instead of no, we'll workshop that, but I think it's a good look.
So not only are we gonna have the interviews, we're gonna have news. We're also gonna be bringing back Star of the Week, and I really loved. Oh, what? That was weird. I really loved Sarah when she was doing Star of the Week. Again, no shade to Evan, no shade to Flobo, but Sarah just kind of had her unique, spin on it. So we're gonna be bringing back Star of the Week. So is there anybody like in particular? Like, how do you break down your star? How do you choose the Star of the Week?
What I'm generally looking for overall is somebody that people don't know just off the top. So I'm usually not picking WWE people unless they're brand new to WWE or there's someone that used to be in the WWE. But my goal is like, I want people a lot of times will say, who's the best women's wrestler? And you hear so many wrestling fans say, oh, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, blah, blah. No shade to any of those women. They're all amazing. But you can tell usually from the answers that they don't even know what's happening in Japan with Stardom. They don't know what's going on in the indie scene. They don't watch Ring of Honor. And I think that's kind of a disservice to the amazing women that are out there doing innovative and creative things. You have someone like Lufisto, who pretty much invented women doing hardcore wrestling, from her run back in the day. And so I look for these women that I think every wrestling fan should know about, and I'm kind of directing them in that direction. And it's not always going to be legends. Sometimes it's going to be new people that I'm like, yo, this girl is about to blow up. You should be one of the people talking about her before anybody else is. So you get to be like, yeah, I knew that.
There you go.
Yeah,
and
Sarah, I totally love that. Like, I feel like that's what makes there are so many wrestlers around the world that are doing like even more amazing things than people that are on the main roster or are in NXT, and no one's talking about them. And so I feel like we have this opportunity to say, hey, there's women that are going to be like on the top of their game in like a few years. And it's incredible to watch some of the people debuting in like AEW, and where they're a few years in and they're making huge strides in women like creating a really powerful roster.
Absolutely.
So yes, we have all that, and then we have a special segment that we're working on. We're still workshopping it, but it's going to be coming down the pipes. So before we kind of get out of here, because like I know you guys like us, but you like what we bring to the table, and so currently this is just a intro or a reintroduction as far as women's wrestling talk, and the new box of women's wrestling talk, who's going to be in the box, which is these ladies and somebody else. But as far as that, as Sarah, what are the 3 things that people should know about you, and then 3 reasons, or 2 to 3 reasons, or 1 to 3 reasons of why people should watch the show?
You should know that I am unfiltered. I am a part of the wrestling industry, and so I know what the heck I'm talking about. And also that I'm probably going to bring a perspective to it that you haven't considered, because I'm always looking at things from over here. And that's just I've been that way even before I was a wrestler. As far as why you should watch the show, you've got 3 of the most informed women on subjects of celebrities, on subject of pro wrestling, on subjects of what the multiple aspects that go into this industry, not just one side of it, not just one. TK can tell you stuff about behind the scenes deals or about how live shows work because of the experience she's had there. Emily can tell you so much about the backstage of a show. I can tell you about a wrestler's career because I've watched them. They're my peers. So I just think this is a very unique perspective. We're not just fans of wrestling. We each have kind of an insider view that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Damn, I don't even know if I should ask Emily why people should watch the show.
What? I don't care. I was like, can we leave it at that? No.
I know. Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I mean,
if you want to add to that part, Emily, you can, or you can.
Yeah. I mean, I've been around for 10 plus years in the industry in different aspects, like backstage. I was a manager for a while. I've done I've produced TV, film, live events. Like, I've done so many sports and entertainment types of projects that, like, I come from like an overall sports and entertainment background that wrestling definitely is in that genre. And so and then I'm married to a wrestler. That's a whole different a whole different perspective, just dealing with it in literally it is 1,000,000% my life all the time. And, you know, travel schedules and just like balancing life, and also just knowing kind of the politics that go into it. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about. And, you know, this is the opportunity to do that. And, you know, and I want to change the game. I want to change how women are perceived in wrestling. I want there to be more producers in wrestling, in charge of wrestling promotions. And I want people to be, you know, just like Stephanie McMahon and Brandy Rhodes are at the top of their game. I want more of them, you know, in those positions. So I'm advocating and really pushing with some of the other like nonprofit work that I'm developing, and I'm working with a lot of people across the industry in order to develop that, so that we have a diverse group of people that have their stories told. And so, you know, I want us to be the leaders of that, and, you know, make those voices heard.
Talk about the collective a little bit. I mean, tell people about what that is that you're working on.
Yeah. So, you know, we all know like that we had this like speaking out moment a few months ago, and it's something that I've dealt with for many years. And I feel like you not only deal with it in wrestling, but also in every aspect of your life, just as a female navigating the world. And I was really heartbroken to hear a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I've worked with affected by it. And I couldn't stand by and let it keep happening. And so I, you know, with lots of discussions with Brandon, my husband, I was like, hey, I couldn't sleep. I literally was like not eating, and I was like, okay, I need to do something. So I come from a producing background and production management and kind of business. So I was like, all right, what can I do? And so we came up with the Safe Wrestling Collective. And this is a collective and association of business professionals, of wrestling industry professionals, of HR professionals, social welfare professionals, mental health professionals, all working towards creating a safer wrestling industry. And, you know, we're working on policies, we're working on creating, you know, safeguarding measures for all types of wrestling shows. And we're starting kind of from the independent scene and then growing from there. And so we have dozens and dozens of wrestling companies that we're speaking to, that we've spoken to over the last few months. And even though we're not having shows as much, this is the time to take this change. So this is the time to really like reevaluate how you run your shows, reevaluate how you treat your talent, how you run your school. And I've heard horror stories. I've seen horror stories. I've seen it all in different aspects of my life. And I might not be a wrestler, but I live with one, and I have many friends who are. And just hearing from them personally, I couldn't stand to hear it anymore. And so we created this association, and we have some exciting announcements coming up in the next few weeks. And it's just the beginning. And what I'm struggling with is that it's been a few months and people are still kind of reverting back. Like, we have a short-term memory. They're reverting back to, okay, what it was pre-pandemic. And we can't do that. We have to keep fighting and have to keep moving forward. And it's going to be a year or so until we actually feel like we have a solid foundation. And it's going to be a continual fight, because every city, every region, every promotion is going to be different. And we want to be global. Like, our goal is to be a global organization that can make this change. So that was a long answer, but that's what we're working on. And I'm super proud to have people involved that really care about the industry, that really, and we have not only people that are involved in wrestling, but outside. And that's what's important. Like, you need different perspectives. And we have a really diverse group of representatives. And I really feel like we're going to change the industry. And I'm like, it's every day's an adventure with it, but I'm learning new things. But we're going to work towards it.
There you have it. Well, Wow,
that was a big answer. Sarah, you took me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say now. Well, for you guys who don't know, I tote the Canadian assassin a lot because I am Canadian. I come from an athletic background. I've been following wrestling, but I got back into wrestling, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Then I got really immersed into wrestling and all the inner workings and stuff when I was part of Xbox 360 show. So that was a really great experience and a really crash course into really kind of everything beyond WWE and indie wrestling and stuff like that. And this is kind of how Women's Wrestling Weekly, now Women's Wrestling Talk, how it kind of came about. So as far as what you're going to get from this show, like I said before, and like I've been saying, you're going to get amazing interviews from amazing wrestlers all the way from the big promotions that we see on TV, which is the ROH, Impact, WWE, etc., to indie wrestlers that you might not see, you might not be able to see, but we're going to make you aware because we're in the age of social media, so you'll be able to see them somewhere on some box somewhere. So that's the big goal of Women's Wrestling Talk, and that's why I really wanted to bring the version of it back, because we were giving interviews to people who weren't getting interviews, and we were also getting interviews with big people. But the goal of the show is to introduce female wrestlers to everybody, and just like Sarah was saying, not just the ones that you see on WWE. Yeah, because there's more to that. And then also asking the right questions. Sometimes I see some of these interviews and it's just like some softball questions, and it doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty of either being a woman of color in wrestling or just being a woman in wrestling. Like, there's just so many different aspects that the three of us combine. It's like we're almost like a super force. I don't know what show.
Yeah, we're a superpower. Yeah, TK, I'm excited because we're gonna, like, I know we talked about this before, but I come from, like, I want to get some of the backstage people involved and like get them, because they're like the wheels that keep things moving, and that's important. That's an important thing to think about. And not like my producer brain is always going where I'm like, all right, who thought of this? Like, who are the writers in the room? And like, and then it's gonna be it's proof that we need more. Mm-hmm. We need more women in behind the scenes. But yeah, we're gonna have some cool people on.
Yes. Well, absolutely, because the number one thing I can tell you when I ask questions, hey, how come we only have one women's match per show? Mm-hmm. How come that? The number one thing I get back is, oh, we couldn't think of a good storyline. Okay, you need a woman back there because
that means you don't have the right people backing you.
Like, there's just no way. Here, I can always show them WoW and say, look, they had 40 women to come up with stories about, and only one of those storylines involves a guy. Do better, everyone else, So I definitely agree with you. It's so interesting to learn more about the behind the scenes, and I can't wait till we have some of those people on the show as well.
We definitely are. However, like I said, I know you guys like us, but you don't want us. We gotta talk more about ourselves and their cats. As the shows progress, where can everybody find you, Sarah, aka Sarah the Rebel, aka Cat Mom number 1.0?
Cat Mom number 1.0. You can find me at Sarah the Rebel everywhere. Please check out my Patreon where you can get cool photos, opportunities, and vlogs from me. Sarah has an H as God and the Bible intended.
And Cat Mom number 2, hailing from the Valley. Emily
yes. You can find me on all social platforms at Emily May Heller, and then follow Safe Wrestling Collective on all platforms as well.
And you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. We do have like new old social media. So this is going to be the trend of the show for a little while. It's like the old show, but it's the new show with the twist. So if you go to WWT, WW Talk, on Instagram, and WW Talk 2020 on Facebook and Twitter, you're going to have, some of the stuff from the old shows, like some of our interviews. And there's still interviews. Like, I need to find an assistant. There's still interviews that I want to cut up and put up for you guys to check out, because they're really great interviews that didn't get enough press like it should have. So definitely look out for some old school stuff and some new stuff and just amazing stuff in general. So thank you guys for joining us for our very first old new interview of Women's Wrestling Talk. Again, you can find us on everything at WW Talk on IG, WW Talk 2020, Facebook and Twitter. And until next time, guys, see you guys next time. Ciao.